It's time for the Financial Crisis Talk Center with Ken Gross and David Einstandig from Thav Gross.
Credit card debt is number one. I view it as financial cancer.
40% of your gross income is going to just pay the debt service. You got no chance of getting out.
I would give up my credit score to get rid of debt.
Here's your host, Ken Gross.
Good morning. Welcome to the Financial Crisis Talk Center Saturday morning, which is going to air on Sunday morning. And just for the purposes of making it clear to everybody, we have moved the show on TV 20 from 1 o'clock p.m. in the afternoon to 10:30 a.m., effective with this Sunday's airing, which is on July 7th, not the one that's coming up tomorrow.
Is that going to impact your brunch schedule? Aren't you with your dad?
No, it won't impact it because it's showing on TV. I don't have to watch it because we're doing it on Saturday.
Oh, so you're vain enough. You're vain enough to watch it. Do you tape the show?
Dave sends me a tape of the show. I do look at the show, but I do not watch it at its airing time. I make sure now it's at 10:30 on Sundays. I can, but then I have to give up the guy on CNN.
What's your dog's name? Sadie, or is that the dead dog?
Macy. Sadie's gone.
When Macy sees you on the screen, what does she do? Does she know what to do?
Macy, my family doesn't watch the show.
Oh, she pretty much ignores you on the screen and at home?
Macy does not watch the show. She's not into the financial crisis. I've talked to her about it, and she looks at me with a blank expression on her face whenever I talk about debt, solving people's problems, anything. Baseball, she doesn't even react to. Talk about special bones, then she gets excited. She's a typical dog.
I'm not even going to go there.
Good morning, David Einstandig. I don't want to spend the whole show on this. Good morning, David Einstandig. Good morning, Brian Small, Ken Gross. We're from Thav Gross. We have a special guest today.
Good morning, Ken, by the way. I'll respond by saying good morning, and I would like to know whether or not we're ever going to see the sun again, or should I start looking for Noah in the parking lots
we're not supposed to do the weather on the show.
Really? Because it's going to rain the entire summer.
Brian's assuming it's going to be consistent.
Yeah, well, it has been so
If you
far.
want, I could, do a rendition from Annie and tell you the sun will come out tomorrow. You can bet your bottom dollar.
Please don't. We have listeners and television watchers,
but
we don't want to scare them.
Yeah, I mean, it's Michigan. What do we expect? We had a rough spring. Summer's kind of starting out with a little bit of a jam, but let's be optimistic.
There's no snow.
There's no snow. There you go.
We're going to be optimistic.
Now you did it.
Yeah.
Oh, now
there's cause for optimism. Pat Simasko's with us today.
Yes,
the word of
thank
the
you.
day is elder, from Simasko, and Simasko Law.
What is elder in your opinion, Pat? What number? What age for, let's say, a man?
Well, sadly, what I do, nursing home planning, over 55, 60. We'd see a lot of people come in that are that young with strokes and dementia, MS.
That explains what's going on with you.
Wait a second.
Where are we going?
We started already.
Was this a setup? Did
No,
you guys discuss this before the show started?
No.
Because David happens to be under 55 years old. What are you, 54?
Yeah, right. You wish.
Brian's 53.
Ken has shoes
You
that
know,
are 50 years
David
old.
and I are both 45, just to rub it in a little bit.
Well, so you're 10 years away.
So Ken would be considered a prime candidate.
For
elder.
planning.
For planning.
I could be a victim. I could be subject to that situation. That doesn't mean that. Yes. Well, I should be worrying about that.
Well, you should, because
Absolutely.
a lot of the plans that you want to start are before you get sick.
Actually, last night I was at a dinner with friends of ours, and one of our friends went to the neurologist recently for something, and he told him several years ago, he could tell by the MRI, he did have a mini stroke.
Yeah.
He did have a mini stroke, and he's totally fine. You wouldn't know talking to him or anything like that, but you're right, you never know. And no pun intended on your age. It's a reality.
Well, there isn't any more
None
old
taken.
person diseases. My father-in-law had dementia at 54. My dad had a stroke at 61. My grandma was 98. All three in the nursing home at the same time.
I'm going to move a little bit here.
Yeah. We
Well,
helped
at
them
least
all.
98 is good longevity there.
Yeah, that's what we hope for. But you got to plan now as if you're going to live till you're 98.
Right. The reality of the situation is when you get into your late 50s, which I'm well into my late 50s at this point, if you look at your surroundings and you look at the number of people who are your contemporaries who unfortunately go young and have illness and cancer and all sorts of things, it increases dramatically, I think, from the time you get from 55 up. And when you're in your late 50s, you're inevitably also addressing the issue that if your parents are still living, they are reaching into their late 80s. And at that point in time, there's not a lot of escaping the ultimate reality that you're going to have to deal with issues. You can't, if you live long enough, you don't just live like you're 30 and then all of a sudden at 95 you stop living. There might be a couple of circumstances, but the longer you live, the greater the issues are for care and where you're going to live. Are you going to live in an assisted living? Are you going to live start in a senior citizen community, assisted living, nursing home? And that's why we're going to get into Medicaid planning and all those issues. You can't escape reality.
I've got a 102-year-old grandmother this May that still lives alone. A little bit of help during the day.
She driving?
No, she actually passed her driver's license at 95, but she's not driving anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, we might be losing Brian here. He's in his 40s. You all right, Brian?
Yeah, I just gotta.
We're going to hook him up with that long-term care policy before he leaves
You
today.
don't need that last vodka at 1 a.m. on Friday night.
Seriously.
That's what happens when you get engaged.
Yeah.
So anyway, Pat, you've been doing elder law for 18 years. Your offices are out in Mount Clemens.
Yes, sir.
How'd you get into elder law?
Well, like I said, right out of law school, my brother and myself, a couple years out, my dad had a stroke at 61, and that sort of thrust us into it. And then I started doing a lot of seminars at nursing homes just because I like doing elder law and estate planning. And met my wife at Shelby Nursing Home. She looked good for 80, but
yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
now, when you do all these seminars at the nursing home, do you eat with them? How's the food?
I go to a lot of nursing homes. I get a lot of referrals from nursing homes.
About the food.
Right now, the assisted living, the food is spectacular. The independent living facilities are spectacular. Sadly, at the nursing homes, there's so many dietary restrictions that you get what you get because the families need to have it that way for their health concerns. But
and the stereotype that it smells and it's musty and all that doesn't really apply to the vast majority, if not all, of these assisted living facilities. Some of them
not
that
the
I've been
assisted
to,
living. They're gorgeous.
They're nice.
It's when you step up into the nursing home situation.
Well, that's what happens when you get into the actual nursing home, when you start getting into those
Medicaid versus non-Medicaid facilities.
Not at all. 90% of the nursing homes are dual certified Medicaid and
a lot of number of Medicaid beds.
We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to start digging into the issues of elder law and elder care. We will be back after the break.
Don't let legal problems destroy your family or your life. Get the justice you deserve. I'm Sabrina Cronin of the Cronin Law Firm, and I'm here to make things right. My firm handles family law, business law, and even criminal law. We can handle all of your legal needs. So whatever you're facing, I'm here to get you justice. You can't afford not to call. Call 855-CRONIN-LAW today.
I couldn't get out of the car. I couldn't run or exercise. I couldn't work.
Dr. Lewis Radin believes that pain shouldn't have to wait. His Spine Specialist of Michigan is a comprehensive center dedicated to helping you manage pain now. Expect the latest techniques and personalized care. Why suffer another minute?
He's the best. I tell people that he's the one that saved my life.
Make your appointment with Dr. Radin. Call 248-792-9496.
No one ever thinks that a serious injury can happen to them, but it can, and it does. And it can happen to you. And when it does, you need a fighter in that courtroom for you. Call me, Ben Johnson. Automobile accident, police misconduct, medical malpractice, product liability. You know what you're up against, how hard it is to get answers. When all you want is justice, call me, Ben Johnson. Whatever your legal crisis, I will fight for you. Call me today.
Do you have tax problems, unfiled returns, facing levies on wages in your property? You need an expert, not a cartoon character or salesman. Thav Gross is your solution.
You need to look at the big picture. That's what we do. We develop a plan that's right for you.
I had major tax problems. I didn't know what to do.
We did. We sat down together and solved your tax problem.
No more letters, no more phone calls. They saved me.
Call Thav Gross, 888-235-HELP.
Going from hourly to salary seemed like a good career move, but now you're working 60 hours a week instead of 40, and you aren't getting paid any of that extra time. You're stuck, right? Wrong. You can be on salary and still be entitled to overtime. If you've been wrongly denied such pay, you may be entitled to that and more. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
All right, welcome back. We've got Pat Simasko with us, elder law attorney from Simasko Law in Mount Clemens, along with Dave Einstandig, Brian Small from Thav Gross, and we're going to kill, quote unquote, the topic of elder law this segment and the next segment.
Kill the topic.
I mean, we're gonna dig into it. We're gonna delve.
We're gonna everything has to do with the grave. We're gonna dig. We're gonna kill.
Yeah, I thought. Okay. Yeah, we'll beat it to death.
Okay. Why don't you just put the Sopranos on the TV while we're at it?
You know, I feel really bad about the Sopranos. You know,
everyone does.
There's a classic example. He was 52.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He kind of looked more like 59.
What about this exercising?
He
My theory
looked
is
like a heart attack waiting to happen.
My theory is that we only get so many heartbeats in our life, and this exercising, you're going to use them up too fast. So I'd like to get your opinion on that.
That's a good point. Yeah. Dying's never a problem.
No.
It's the living that's the problem.
Yeah, dying solves the problem for the deceased.
If you ask...
or the relative.
If you ask 1,000 senior citizens, are they more worried about dying or going to the nursing home? And it's going to the nursing home. Are they more worried about running out of money or dying? It's running out of money.
I would agree with that.
Absolutely, hands down.
The running out of money is the interesting one, and we're going to really dig into that on the second half of the segment, is that we find that so often, even though they're supposed to be worrying about running out of money, they don't start worrying about running out of money until they've run out of money.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like, you know, all of a sudden they're 1 month away from not having enough money to pay their bills, and then they're saying, oh my God, I have a problem.
Yeah.
And they've tapped out their 401k or IRA.
And we're going to get it. But let's,
all
right,
we'll talk about that next.
Yeah, let's. All right, here's what I want to dig into is we've got elder law, in my mind, covers the range of assisted living and nursing home care, Medicaid planning, asset protection, estate planning. All those areas intertwine.
Correct.
I want to kind of start off with Medicaid planning because that's the one that, when does that come up? The way I see it coming up is all of a sudden you have an elder spouse, usually one spouse, and they're at the nursing home stage, and there's insufficient cash in the estate to pay for private care.
Well, that's elder law planning should start years before that, and sadly, most elder law attorneys don't know anything about Medicaid planning. That's sort of a subset, subspecialty on that. They're typically doing traditional estate planning, probate, things like that. But the elder law, Medicaid planning is almost like going to a neurosurgeon. It's that level of skill set.
We hear a lot as attorneys who don't do the day-to-day estate planning, Medicaid planning, elder law planning. We always hear, well, we want to put our client in a position where they'll qualify for Medicaid.
Right.
And we always hear about, well, there's a look-back period and you have to do certain things. So I guess Ken's question is, what is that all about?
Where it starts. Okay, first of all, there's crisis Medicaid planning. Mom's in the nursing home right now, dad's at home, or typically it's dad dies and now mom doesn't have a person to take care of her at home anymore.
All right, let's go with that.
Let's
go with that situation.
Right. So if you're a single person, dad passed away, mom passed away, and the other person has to go to a nursing home. Now, a nursing home is not assisted living. It's not independent living. The nursing home, you want Medicaid to pay for it. And mom and dad, they did not save their whole life to give their money to the nursing home. So Medicaid planning is what can we do to protect their assets, as much of them, so it doesn't have to go to the nursing home.
All right, so if somebody's worth $10 million, they're not going to be a candidate for Medicaid.
No,
planning.
if they're worth $200,000, $300,000, $400,000, $50,000. Mom saved her whole life. The first $10,000 that she saved is the hardest $10,000, whether she's got $10,000 or $500,000. So we want to save all of that life savings plus the house plus.
But can you start at that crisis stage?
Yeah, we can save. We call it the half a loaf plan. You can always save 50% of the money. It's usually more like 55, 60% of the money. So if they have 100,000, we're going to save 60 grand.
All right, so when you save half the loaf, is it fair to say that you only get to save half the loaf if you have the right ingredients and you're in the proper kitchen and you use the right tools?
If you have the right cook, if you have the right captain of the ship, yeah, that's it. So if you go to a traditional family law attorney, elder law attorney, they may say, well, you have to spend all your money down. It's getting to that person that knows what to do on the to save that half.
Let's start off with let's go way back.
Sure.
You're in your 40s, your early 50s, and you're wanting to plan for the fact that when you're 90, or 85,
right,
you're going to need this nursing home care,
right,
etc. What can you do at that point to protect your estate and make sure that it doesn't go to the government?
Right.
Instead, it goes to your heirs.
Well, there's two things that I would do is start looking at long-term care insurance. Because if you start young enough, it's cheap enough for you. It's like buying house insurance when the house is on fire. You're not going to be able to get it. If you're 80, 70, the premiums are so high that the families are bought out of the, they can't afford it. The second thing is the hardest part of traditional pre-planning for Medicaid is retirement benefits, 401k plans, IRAs, things like that, because you have such a huge tax burden when you're pulling the money out of the accounts. So I would start shifting more of the money into life insurance policies that have cash values that you can move money around. Taxes are going up in the future, so if you put less, 401ks are not tax-free, they're tax-deferred.
So
would you rather pay
so
tax
when you're
on
taking your mandatory distributions, you have to pay tax on it.
Yeah, but if you got $300,000 and now you have to pull it all out of mom's name because she's going to the nursing home, you're at a 33% tax rate.
Well, there's a balance there, I would imagine, because if you have money that's in your 401k or something where the government is basically telling you there's rules and restrictions that you need to follow, unlike maybe some other brokerage account that you may have, and you can decide to sell it or whatever you want to do with it. But you still have the issue that if you've got several $100,000, $50,000, $75,000, whatever it may be, that even if you have the tax man's going to come with one way or the other, unless upon death and it transfers. But
which it comes to.
But still, you want to protect what you got after you pay the tax.
Right. So the idea is, if you talk, Social Security planning comes into play at that point. When you're pulling money out at 70 and a half, and your Social Security is there, you should be starting to pull money out of your retirement accounts at 59, 60, 61.
Right. When we're going to take a break. When we come back, I want to stay right on this because I don't think people realize how big the 401k comes into that issue.
Oh, yeah.
You like your job. What you don't like is the way your boss has been treating you. He's making comments about how you look instead of your work, and he's been touching you inappropriately. If you complain, is he allowed to fire you? Absolutely not. Unwelcome sexual comments, advances, and contact are illegal in the workplace. Make him pay. Gold Star Law is here to help you through your employment law problem, whatever it is.
Gold Star Law, protecting employees' rights. Call 1-800-WAGES-10 for a free consultation today.
Every family has the family meeting, and we all know what that means. Dad's got dementia. What are we going to do? What's the care plan that the family has in place? Usually they don't, or they struggle with a care plan. When you go home tonight and you talk to your tax person and you talk to your financial person, say, what's the plan that you have in place? And as soon as they don't give you an answer, give me a call, because I can do it for you.
Financially strapped? Do you want to save your home?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're Thav Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
Double Action, shooting center and gun shop. For the largest selection of guns, accessories, and ammunition, Double Action is your only pro gun shop. And now you can train with the best in our basic CCW course. With the most comprehensive curriculum, the best resources, and most accomplished staff. Don't be fooled by cheap imitations. Double Action is the only place to get your CCW or renewal. Double Action. We're on DeQuinder and Madison Heights.
Carrying too much debt? Dump your debt. Call Thav Gross.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call Thav Gross. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, welcome back. All right, with Pat Simasko from Simasko Law, elder law attorney, we're flushing through Medicaid issues in terms of qualifying and qualifying. Before we get into it, I just want a little shout out and thank you to our sponsors: Cronin Law Firm, Venn Johnson Law, Gold Star Law, Simasko Law as well. Appreciate that, Pat.
Thank you.
Double Action Shooting Range. We had a good time last week with Double Action. We were shooting up the storm there. And Spine Specialists of Michigan. And I want to remind people, we're kind of on our summer siesta from the standpoint of seminars. So I don't have a seminar to announce for financial crisis management, but there are free consults available at Thav Gross anytime you want it. All you've got to do is call, make an appointment, 888-235-HELP. Go to either of our websites, financialcrisistalkcenter.com or thavgross.com. There's a spot for a free consultation. You can just do it the online way if you prefer, and then we'll call and confirm a time for you that's convenient. It's a smart thing to do. Everything that we talk about kind of comes back to planning, and that's what we're talking about right here with Medicaid planning. So when we went to the break, we were talking about retirement funds. Let's say you're 60, you're in good health, you're married, you got $500,000 in your 401k, but you're wondering what's going to happen to me if I'm 95 and I need to be in a nursing home.
So what you need to look at is when you're pulling people love to start collecting Social Security at 62. It's probably the worst thing to do unless they have health issues or life expectancy issues. Social Security goes up 8% per year from 62 to age 70. So the best part about your retirement accounts is you don't have to pay taxes till you pull them out. The worst thing is you have to pay taxes when you pull them out. So the idea, and I tell this over and over again, if I could just get to my clients at age 60, wait to collect Social Security and start drawing down on your retirement accounts now to keep you at the lowest tax rate possible. We know you have to pay taxes, but taxes go up in brackets, so you want to keep it at the lowest bracket possible. So as you're moving along, you're converting taxable assets into non-taxable, you're pulling them out of the retirement accounts, then you need to get that money out of your name 5 years before you're in the nursing home.
Well, let me ask you a question. My parents are of I guess it would be difficult maybe at that point when there's people in their 70s, late 60s. My parents are of the mindset that they need to have that money to take care of themselves when they get to that point.
Well, this is what every parent says. First, every kid says, Mom and Dad, we don't want your money, go spend it. Parents believe them. The kids don't want your money. Every parent says, I can't spend it because I may need it in the future. So that's the challenge. So it's not spend it, it's protect it. Have it available for them so you get it out of their name into loving kids. And we have special trusts that we use for that so that it's protected from the nursing home if they need it for assisted living, if they need it for independent living.
If you get to the stage where you need to go into the nursing home and there's $500,000 in your 401k, what happens? Is that where we're half a loaf situation or what?
If it's a married couple, I can protect every dime with a Medicaid crisis plan. We have families that have $1.5 million on Medicaid. The nursing home bill is zero. Okay, so married couple,
there's room to maneuver.
Yes,
there's room to maneuver.
I'd say every time I can save 100% of the money 100% of the time.
Okay, single?
Half a loaf. And the problem is, if you have $500,000 and you have to pull it out to do that
have you ever had anyone that got married in their 80s or 90s?
I've had people that, no, everyone says, I put up a guy for 40 years. I'm not putting out for another 40.
Is it legal to get married for the purpose of Medicaid planning?
So
but it's also legal to get divorced, too, if you wanted to.
So theoretically, if you had somebody with $1 million they could save $500,000 just by saying I do.
Yeah. It happened to our family. My father-in-law had Alzheimer's at 54. He retired from TACOM, and he was divorced from my mother-in-law. And we told her, you're going to lose 50 years of retirement benefits from the military and get married. She wouldn't do it. And we've never had anyone actually get married to her.
It's interesting because you can work by saying I do, but over in Brian's world, in the bankruptcy world, if a couple decides to divorce for purposes of manipulating the bankruptcy process, where they say I don't, it's fraud.
Yeah, well, who knows with the Supreme Court's decision on DOMA and what's going to happen in the future at the state level?
That's an interesting.
It could, you could be my next husband.
Yeah. One of the biggest.
I've got news for you, buddy. I don't see it that way.
Hey, for $500,000.
It'll be like you could be my Mr. Robinson.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but so that's crisis planning.
That's real crisis.
They're
planning
in the
right
nursing
there,
home, and we have to protect it.
A little nauseous.
So if you're saving the entire package of money, what are you assuming when you're saying you can save 100% of it, that the person that's going to the nursing home is the one that ends up being the decedent before?
Doesn't matter. I can protect it either way.
So it doesn't.
So here's the case. I got to lay out the facts. Dad's in the nursing home. He has $500,000. Mom's at home.
Got it.
And he has that $500,000 retirement account. I'm proud to say that I'm probably the only lawyer in the whole state, maybe the whole country, that knows how to get that retirement account from Dad's name into Mom's name without any negative tax implications through quadros and things like that. And so you get the stuff out of his name into her name, then you create special Medicaid trusts or special Medicaid annuities that allows Mom to keep all that money.
And does Mom have full access to the corpus whenever she needs it?
Yes.
Hold on, I got to ask this question.
We got to wrap up, and then if I've got time, you can ask the question. But I want to say, we're talking about Medicaid planning, and the big point here is you got to take action. If you're in that situation, you've got the retirement account, you can save it all if you've got a spouse. If you're single, you could save half. You need to plan. The way you should do is you should call Pat Simasko. You should go visit him. Go to his website at simaskolaw.com. I know your phone number is 586-468-6793. That's 586-468-6793. Okay, David, we've got about 30 seconds left, and then we're going to come back in the next segment.
If their capacity is questionable or they're incapacitated, can you still implement a plan to get half or the whole loan?
Yes, but I go and teach all our seniors to have their power of attorneys updated. 99% of the power of attorneys at sea do not have the language in them to make sure Medicaid planning is allowed by their agent.
Yeah, there's specific Medicaid language that needs to be in the power of attorney, because we've come across that in our firm, and we know that we have that in our general durable powers of attorney.
It's like a tip of the iceberg.
I want to thank Pat Simasko for joining us this segment. Simasko Law. We've been talking elder law. Our next segment, we're going to stay on topic, and Pat's going to join us as well. You're listening to the Financial Crisis Talk Center. Thanks for listening.